Considering the timeline the Ahsoka series takes place, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Ahsoka will eventually not only meet up with Ezra, Thrawn, and all the usual suspects, but the one and only Luke Skywalker, the son of her former master Anakin Skywalker, and they have a lot to discuss. In the Book of Boba Fett, we saw them discuss quite a few things, one in particular where Ahsoka told Luke that he was a lot like his father. But there are a lot of other things that we have not seen on screen Ahsoka tell Luke about his father. This is one of the major possibilities that is coming, especially when we talk about Dave Filoni. He likes to connect the past with the present, and I think it would be wisest to use the Ahsoka series upcoming in August for a perfect moment to do exactly that. One specific thing that comes to mind is one that we have discussed earlier, where it connects with the Clone Wars era, the biggest regret that Ahsoka felt during her entire life, a thing that she can discuss with Luke in the Ahsoka series years later after the Clone Wars.
I remember that scene like it was yesterday. It's not just Anakin who felt the pain, but it was all of us. In a way, we were Anakin at that moment, desperately trying to hang on to her. We couldn't imagine the show going on without us seeing Ahsoka again, but it was real. She vanished from that point on, and guess who missed her the most? That's right, her master Anakin Skywalker. Anakin and Ahsoka's relationship was that of a big brother and little sister, in that Anakin was a lot older than Ahsoka. You could see that when Anakin put on his Jedi Master hat and mentored Ahsoka, he often served the role of a surrogate father figure, same as Obi-Wan did with Anakin. Now you have to remember that Anakin was barely out of his Padawan years, but when he occasionally got goofy and casual in some episodes, the two became brother and sister again, and we love to see that. You could feel and see the sibling love between the two. People also forget that neither Ahsoka nor Anakin had a real father. Obviously, we know that Anakin had no father whatsoever, but Ahsoka did have parents that she never met. She never knew her father, and so Anakin, and in a way Plo Koon too, played a huge role in her character development and maturity, taking responsibility for herself. Anakin and Ahsoka were a team. They obviously cared deeply for each other, and apparently, according to the Rebel series, some of those feelings carried on well into Anakin's Vader years. Now, Ahsoka was good friends with Padme as well, which was secretly Anakin's wife, and I'm almost certain she knew the two were married, or at least more deeply involved that they seemed to be in public. I'm saying all of this because I want to establish how hard was it for Ahsoka to actually leave. For the average viewer, maybe it didn't mean much, but for someone who understood the dynamics of Ahsoka and Anakin, we knew that Ahsoka didn't come to that decision of leaving so carelessly. She came to this decision very much convinced that the Jedi Order was completely lost. She held no grudge against her master, but mostly against the Council. They, including Plo Koon, turned her back on her as soon as they felt something was wrong. It didn't matter that she was innocent. Anakin's feelings on this are mostly summarized in this unfinished episode.
I miss her, okay? Is that what you wanted me to say? I still can't understand how she could have left the Order.
It was a surprise decision to all of us.
It was wrong. She's a Jedi. She belongs with us. She's one of us.
She made the decision, Anakin.
Well, what choice did we give her? The moment there were any suspicions about her loyalty, the Council turned their back on her.
And what about Ahsoka? How did she feel after many years of leaving? Did she ever regret it? Well, I believe the clear answer to this question comes from the Rebel series. There are two parts where we can see clearly that Ahsoka regretted what she had done all those years ago. She regretted it because ultimately it led to the fall of her master. Watch this clip and tell me that she is not doubting her decision to leave.
Ahsoka, why did you leave? Where were you when I needed you?
I made a choice. I couldn't stay.
You were selfish.
No!
You abandoned me. You failed me. Do you know what I've become?
And in the end, we do have confirmation that indeed she did regret leaving Anakin. A confirmation that if she would go back and do it again, she would never leave the Order. Not because of the Jedi Code or her Jedi career, but solely to protect her master, Anakin Skywalker, from the dark side.
I won't leave you. Not this time.
Then you will die.
She strongly believed that if she was by his side, Annie would never leave the light and join the dark, and I kinda do agree with her. If we take this into account, Obi-Wan, Padme, and then Ahsoka too, the abundance of supportive people in Anakin's life would have made it impossible for Anakin to join Sidious so easily. Unfortunately, that is not the storyline we got, but again, I truly believe that Ahsoka did end up regretting her decision to abandon her master, to stick by his side and keep him in the light.
Here's my biggest issue though in live action. We have only seen Ahsoka face Darth Vader in animated form. We have never actually seen Ahsoka live action deal with her past, especially when it comes to her former master Anakin Skywalker turned Darth Vader. The closest we came was in the Book of Boba Fett when Ahsoka was talking to Luke Skywalker, and especially that moment when she said, "Will you remind me of your father?" This is the only time Ahsoka has vaguely talked about Anakin Skywalker. I really wonder, will they take this opportunity? Will Dave Filoni, knowing that we might get the world between worlds, and you know what that means, Ahsoka might travel to the past or at least look at past events with her and her former master now turned Darth Vader, which could be the most epic moment to happen in Star Wars in quite a while. My hopes, honestly, is that we get another face-to-face between Ahsoka and Darth Vader in live action, because we've seen it in animated form in Star Wars Rebels, and my hunger for this moment came from the Clone Wars Season 7 finale, when we saw Darth Vader find Ahsoka's lightsaber, if you remember that scene. Ahsoka then took the Kyber crystals housed within the deceased Inquisitor's lightsaber, which had been calling out to her. She noted that the crystal had been turned red through the practice known as bleeding. Realizing that the crystals were meant to be hers, she purified them back to the light side of the Force, and in the process she turned these crystals into pure white, and thus she finally had everything she needed. Ahsoka assembled herself 2 new lightsabers from the components she had collected, as well as the specialized crystal mountings from the Inquisitor's lightsaber. She noted that the hilts were rather rough, but had no time to make them more functional. Assisting in the evacuation of Rada, Ahsoka leapt into battle with her new weapons, rescuing the Kadeen people from where they had been imprisoned, getting the locals to retreat into evacuations ships that were sent by Bail Organa. Afterwards, Ahsoka met on the Tantive 3 as she not only showed Organa her new weapons, but took up the official position of Fulcrum in order to improve the Rebels' communications. Preceding this is the Rebel series, where we see Ahsoka wielding both of these lightsabers, and how bittersweet it was to face off against the other Inquisitors, seeing that she got the crystals from one of the Inquisitors herself. The poor crystals that were taken as beams of light energy and bled to be red and then again purified by Ahsoka. That's the sad part, that we should remember these crystals suffered. The one man that was left wondering though was her former master. As I talked about in a previous video, Darth Vader got the short end of the stick. Many have wondered, what is Darth Vader thinking at this moment in time? His mannerisms and the environment itself shows us a bit of what happened in his mind during these troubling times for him, since he had to revisit the past, and as we all know, Vader is not fond of the past. We start with
with Vader watching over the crash, signifying the moment where he realized this is where his former apprentice ended up. Once he notices the lightsaber, however, things quickly change for Vader. He has an emotional rush, although hiding it very well. He kneels down to pick up the lightsaber. One giveaway, if you look at the animation, and this was done purposefully, is if you watch closely, Vader showed a semblance of Anakin in this moment when he not only picked up the lightsaber, but removed the snow with his other hand. He wanted to check and make sure that this was indeed Ahsoka's lightsaber that he gave to her all those years ago when he was still a bright-eyed Jedi, Anakin Skywalker, somebody that he wanted to forget. But it doesn't stop there. Vader in his mind wants to push his boundaries. He wants to go a step further, not only checking the hilt, but he wants to see the blade for himself, and so he ignites the lightsaber, and indeed it is a blue hue, same as it was when Ahsoka wielded them years ago during the Clone Wars, before Order 66. For Vader, this signifies the end of that relationship. Finally, he can put closure on Ahsoka's story. He and Ahsoka were now officially done, since he never got to say goodbye to his apprentice or even see her again. This would finalize his thinking. This symbolized the end between the relationship of Anakin and Ahsoka, as bittersweet and as cold as it was. Many, though, talk about this specific scene where he watches above and sees the Morai, the female convoy that bears spiritual ties with the daughter from the Mortis arc. In the Rebel series, we're led to believe that this owl would always follow Ahsoka, something that we are not yet made privy to, but there is a definite connection between Ahsoka's presence and the Morai. Things are further complicated when we see Vader's actual eyes behind his helmet, shining a glimmer of hope that Anakin might still be inside, but not today, as he quickly disengages the lightsaber. With the lightsaber turned off, Vader now is done with this situation. In his mind, Ahsoka is now dead and they can cross her off the list of Jedi survivors. He simply turns to go back without ever looking back at Ahsoka's final resting place and the resting place of his clone brothers, members of the 501st that he served with throughout the entire Clone Wars, signifying not only the end of Ahsoka and Vader, but Vader and his former clone team, brothers in arms that served the Republic until death. Talk to me down below in the comments, guys. Let me know, what do you guys think about this Ahsoka journey? You go have an awesome day, my Star Wars friends. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you until then.